Shalom, giving all honor, all praise, and all glory to Yahweh, Bahashum, Yahweh Shai, Bahashum, Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and bishops of the great millstone that rule well. And as always, peace, blessings, and salutations to the tabernacle of David, the hopeful elect, that are scattered abroad across the four winds of the earth. And I just have to do a quick video on this. I even kind of chuckled a little bit. It was very interesting. Now you had the opening ceremony for the Olympics out in Milan, Italy, and when Team America came out and when Team Small Hat came out, the reaction from the crowd was very interesting, to say the least. And I can think of one particular scripture that comes to mind, when I see this occur. This is on TikTok, so I'm gonna play when the Team America came out, where you had JD Vance and his wife. They came out, and you're gonna see the reaction from the crowd. And, let me click on this one. You see the crowd. They was not feeling JD Vance being there. Which he's a representation of Babylon. And they come out and they out there, waving their hand with the American flag, and the crowd was just not feeling it. Right? So this happened when Team America happened to come out, and then let's get the other reaction. Now you already know with these people, right? So let's look at this reaction. Same crowd. So you got to see the same reaction when these two came out and tried to represent. They both got the same reaction. They both got booed. All right, and this is in Italy. So you're despised among your own. That's how bad it's gotten. All right, the world no longer has any respect, for them. And that made me think about, one particular verse in prophecy, Obadiah, and it's also said in Jeremiah. But let's get the one in Obadiah first. This is Obadiah 1, and I'll start at 1. The point is in verse 2. It says, "The vision of Obadiah, thus saith the Lord power concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from the Lord, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle." And Adawam, Edom, they got a lot of enemies, a lot of foes, and they done made a lot of foes throughout the world because of their actions. Going back in history, all the things that they've done, even here up into this present time. All right, you didn't hammered the earth to death. You didn't made deals and treaties with people, and then backed out on them. You didn't bombed a lot of countries and cities. You didn't took resources from everybody. You didn't did it all, man. Invaded nations. You toppled their government, took down their regimes, put puppet leaders in it, caused all type of wars. You didn't send sanctions among people. Nobody likes y'all, man. That's basically what the message is. That's the sentiment of the whole world. Nobody likes you. And eventually you're going to be in battle. You're going to be in a world war. And all your foes are going to be against you. They're going to be arrayed against you. And the Lord's going to put the Spirit on them. Because the Most High, he's the one who mustereth the host of the battle. So he's going to put the Spirit on the leaders of these nations. And y'all going to get to it. All right? Especially those of you over in the Holy Land. Joel, the third chapter, because you didn't you parted the Lord's land for your own possession. So get ready for it. They're talking about Americans. They're getting American citizens to evacuate Iran. So that lets us know that they're getting ready to, set it up. But Iran, they're trying to be strategic. All right. So we already know what time it is. The least of the flock is going to draw them out. As soon as y'all go after Iran, that's the trap. All right, that was set and waiting to happen. You're gonna go up in there, and then it's gonna, it's going to catapult into something larger, into a global conflict. Continuing on, it says, "Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen; thou art greatly despised." Because you're influencing the world, and respect is diminishing, so you're becoming more insignificant. When nations all over the world no longer respect you, they see you as a joke. All right. You're not seen as these respected heroes. You're not noble. You're not seen as the good guys. You're the villain. All right. So let me get the one in Jeremiah 49. I'm gonna start at the 14th verse. And it says, "I have heard a rumor from the Lord, and an ambassador is sent." So it's the same prophecy. So Obadiah got the vision of it, and then Jeremiah also. So you have to be a fool if you're still trying to save Esau, knowing that the prophets already prophesied Esau's fate. It says, "Unto the heathen, saying, Gather ye together and come against her, and rise up to the battle. For lo, I will make thee small among the heathen, and despised among men." All right, you will not be seen in the same regard. You're not going to be respected like you once were. You're not going to be held with admiration. All right, the Lord's been uncovering the thigh and making bare that leg and lifting up the skirt and showing all these nations your shame, your nakedness, and you becoming more and more despised around the world. So let me go from there. Let me get this in Isaiah real quick. And this is in the NLT. This is Isaiah 32 and verse 5. And it says, "In that day, ungodly fools will not be heroes. Scoundrels will not be respected." And then between these two nations, which really, America is not a nation. It's a kingdom, all right? But we know the nation that actually governs and rules it, they're a nation of scoundrels. What is a scoundrel? It says a scoundrel, a dishonest or unscrupulous person. And that's E all the way, man. They have no character, very treacherous. They deal in deceit, deception. You can't expect these people to do any good. It says rogue, rascal, good for nothing, reprobate, unprincipled person, cheat, swindler, fraudster, trickster. They didn't deceive the whole world. Charlatan, villain, beast. All right. Son of a bitch, SOB, rat. Man. So this is how the world sees you now. That's what you are. So you're not going to get the respect that you think you deserve with your lofty pride, thinking that you can never be brought down. So this is just the atmosphere in the earth, man. you being booed at the Olympic ceremonies, because the world, they They've gotten to know you, even your own, man. Over there in Italy, that's one of the heads of the beast. You got Jake among them over there in Italy, but you got, mainly Esau over there. But they straight up booed when Babylon came out, and then when Amalek came out. All right. And I just went to the chat and just asked it, what does it mean when it says thou art greatly despised in the prophecy of Obadiah, verse 2, and Jeremiah 49:15. And it replied back, it said, in both Obadiah verse 2 and Jeremiah 49:15, the phrase thou art greatly despised refers to Edom's loss of honor and status among the nations as an act of divine judgment. Yeah, you have no honor, and though you still dominate and rule, but you don't have the honor and admiration anymore. Your status as being the most, benevolent, superior, we civilized the world. We got the best, greatest IQ, Nah, you're none of that. You're not a God-fearing Christian. You're not a God-fearing nation. You're not the chosen people. You're none of that. All right? It says, immediate context, both passages are parallel prophecies against Edom, a nation descended from Esau and located south of Judah. That was where he was geographically placed as far as his inheritance. But we know that the people, they rule the world. The world was given into their hands. It says Edom was politically confident because of its strongholds and geography, but it had acted violently and arrogantly toward Judah, and he done it against all the tribes and even around the world. But the prophecy does zero in on his violence against Judah. Okay, going back to the time of when they started to revolt, when Judah started to you had the throne of Judah after the split. You had after the death of Solomon, the kingdom split into two, and Esau started revolting against Judah. And then from there on, when we had these captivities, Esau was always right there, all right, taking vengeance against Jacob. And since Judah is right there, close to Edom, it was always done against Judah. And then you had when the Babylonians rose up and came down upon Jerusalem and ransacked the temple, desecrated the temple, Esau was right there to help assist with that. So they did all this dirt way back then, and then leading up into today's time. All right, what he did when he came out of the bottomless pit, all right, to start to assimilate into power. And then it started to enslave us, came over to the side of the world, enslaved the northern kingdom and genocided them, brought us to this side of the world and forced us to slave labor, committed genocide, did all that wickedness, man. Up until the emancipation, then you had the Jim Crow, all that violence. It says, meaning of the phrase, greatly despised, loss of honor and reputation. In the ancient Near East, despised primarily concerns public standing, not private feelings, right? So on the world stage, their public standing is what? They're not liked, all right? They're not respected. That's why they're getting booed. That's why at every summit or meeting that they have, they're always getting chewed out. And that reminds me of also the scripture in Habakkuk 2 and was it 16, where it says that shameful spewing shall be upon their glory. They always getting chewed out. It says, Edom would no longer be respected or feared by other nations, and you can see that. Especially them arming themselves, developing their nuclear arsenals. Iran, they still to this day, they've been getting threats from the West for decades over their nuclear program, and they still doing what they do. They just now being more strategic about it. But they had that back and forth last summer with the missiles, and it exposed a lot. Trump holding back, because they keep talking shit like they finna get ready to do something, but they keep lagging for a reason, lollygagging. Because behind the scenes, China, they've been supplying Iran. Russia been supplying Iran. So, and then, you got Saudi Arabia saying, hey, we want to be neutral, but yeah, y'all better think about this, because we're not going to choose you when it's time to pick a side. That was the latest news concerning Saudi Arabia, who was a ally to the U.S. So, yeah, things are changing, man. It says political and social diminishment. The paired phrase, I have made thee small, clarifies the meaning. Edom's power, influence, and prestige would be reduced. Despised here is the result of being made small. Divine reversal of pride. Both prophecies emphasize Edom's arrogance. Being despised is the opposite of the honor Edom assumed it had secured through wealth, alliances, and defensible terrain. Yep. It says public humiliation before the nations. The judgment is international in scope. Yeah. You're when the Lord lift up that skirt on you, and the world they're disgusted, man. Babylon is a disgrace among the nations, man. Just the division, its own government is divided. This fool Trump is suing the IRS, man. So it is come on, man. And then the whole Epstein thing. The more it gets out, the more shame and disgrace is coming upon them in front of the world, man. It says Edom would become an example of downfall, not admiration. And that's what we're seeing. Edom is they're suffering their downfall. Babylon is falling, and Edom is falling right along, because they're hand in hand. They're basically one and the same, because Edom governs and rules Babylon. So this is what it is, and I had to see what the chat said about it. And it actually, I liked how it broke it down. It says, thou art greatly despised means that the Most High is declaring Edom's humiliation and loss of standing among the nations. It is not merely emotional contempt, but a visible historical lowering of status, power, and honor as judgment for pride and violence. And I'm going to end on that. Like I said, I wasn't going to make this a long video, but I thought this was funny. All right, but hopefully y'all were edified. I'm going to give all honor, praise, and glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Shalom.